Okay, so to do wooden planks, we simply take our ruler, line it up with the edge, the corner facing closest to us. I'm going to do a tick mark. For me, I'm just going to do them at every kind of like half-inch mark, like so. But how big or small you make them is up to you. The horizontal part of my planks must go to the vanishing point. So from that tick mark, I'm going to draw a line to my vanishing point. Okay. Remember, all horizontal lines must go to the vanishing point. Then you're like, Miss Howe, okay, so I have these long, do you see how they like these stripes? They look almost like planks. You can start to break them up. Remember, horizontal lines go to the vanishing point. Vertical lines remain true to reality. So the vertical part of the plank just goes up and down. Like so. And then you can like be fancy with it. You could add like little nail holes in there if you wanted. You could add that wooden texture in there. Maybe some hatching marks. You want it to be fancy. But again, the big part of this is making sure that all the details are going to the vanishing point. To do your stony texture, it starts off the same. Basically, I'm going to line my ruler up with the corner. And I want my stones to be pretty big. This is going to be like a pretty, so I'm going to do kind of big areas here. Again, make sure, these are just going to end up being the guidelines. So again, here. Okay, then I'm going to add some vertical lines. And if you remember how we did the stony texture from our stony apple, we simply round out the edges, have some go past the edges. Kind of round out the edges. And you can like make some smaller, break it up. Doesn't have to be perfect. We don't want stones to be even, right? Okay. We simply shade the in-between spaces. Erase any vertical guidelines that we see. Okay. Now here's where things are going to get tricky with the stony texture. Does anybody remember what texture we used? Yes. Stippling. Okay, so we're going to take that stippling to the next level. So if the light is coming from above and it's going to be hitting these stones, you're basically going to have this kind of curve-shaped shadow on each stone. So whether I shade or stipple, it's going to have this kind of crescent shape to it. So whether you stipple to add this shadow in to kind of add some texture on your stones, whether you shade it in, that'll give you kind of like a rough stone texture, whether you shade it in and then blend it. Getting that crescent-shaped shadow is the trick to making each of these stones look 3D. So now, just like we did on our texture apple, as the light gets further and further away, our wall gets further and further away from our light source, okay, you're going to have more and more shadow. So these stones may just be completely in darkness. Okay. And as they come closer to the corner, those highlights are going to get bigger and bigger. It's kind of like a pro stony texture tip. Okay. For bricks are probably the trickiest one. So for bricks, I'm going to very, very lightly draw kind of a diagonal line through the center first. Just like I did before, I'm going to draw my tick marks at the corner. Do pretty big stonework here. And then I'm going to draw my horizontal lines, again, going to the vanishing point. Now here's where it gets tricky. From this diagonal line, I'm going to draw a little vertical line going up. So along that diagonal. This will help space the bricks out evenly. Let's that one up. Okay. And then I simply go line it back up with the first one and go every other. So it's on the first, skip the second, on the third. On the second, skip the third, on the fourth. Okay, this one it goes on the first, on the third. So notice because I've done the kind of every other, it's much more even. I kind of did that on the planks too. So this trick for bricks is first the diagonal, then measure out evenly on the corner, vertical line up from the diagonal, okay, then a vertical line every other. Okay, and there we have our 3 different textures. You're not required to include textures on your houses, but you are required to have 5 architectural details. A texture could be one of those. Okay,